Hello and welcome to State of the Economy. Today we'll be talking about the forthcoming budget and the huge expectations that it has created. This government is now 8 months old, and many people are talking about this budget as possibly a make or break budget. And to discuss this, we have with us a very distinguished panel. To my right, Siddharth Birla, a very well-known industrialist and past president of FICCI. He's just stepped down a few months ago. And Didar Singh, who's Secretary General FICCI, through his FICCI Prism, surveys the economy, policy, etc. Welcome to our show. I'll start with you, Siddharth. What do you make of this GDP revision which has happened recently, which statistically presents a very rosy picture of 2013-14, saying we had 7% GDP growth in the year of the worst policy paralysis-led collapse of the economy, which resulted in a whole lot of political churn, and we got this new government. And this year too, 7.4%. What do you have to say to that?
Well, I wasn't here when it was when this number was introduced, but I'm still trying to understand it.
But that's what the RBI governor also says. He doesn't understand the numbers.
Well, I'm glad I'm on the same page as Raghu, but really speaking, okay, we need to compare apples and apples and oranges with oranges, okay? So if a statistical method shows that this is the number, then all that it tells me is that our target, which let's say as per us the growth was 5% or less than 5%, and we need to reach 8 to 9%. So if that is 7%, then we should be looking at targets of 11 to 12%.
The coming budget may have a target of maybe 8.5% or something.
Maybe, you know, just
because 7.4% we already hit.
But I think more to the point, as you referred, that in a year of policy paralysis and a year of tremendous pain for industry,
with businesses felt in real terms.
In real terms, and in terms of investment, in terms of people, in terms of service industry, across the board. So even today, if you were to tell me, because I think according to that same scale, our growth has been revised to 7.4% or something.
Yeah, the advanced estimates, yeah.
Yeah, so if 7.4 and Q3 is what you have seen, the real pain in the industry, the worst results in a long time.
In a decade.
And across the board, not
corporate
as per
results.
Sector. Yes, corporate results. The data
exports in January are down negative 11%, right?
Yeah. I think it doesn't match with the reality. So I think at some point of time we have to match the numbers with the reality on the ground. And I'm probably not able to connect the two.
It doesn't pass the smell test.
Yes, it doesn't pass the smell test. And at the same time, if at 7.3% growth or whatever, at such high levels of growth, this is the pain in the economy. That means our competitiveness has really gone through the floor. I mean, this is the other side of it. So whether we should be looking at the overall holistic competitive position, whether we should be looking at numbers and matching it with reality, and trying to make sense of apples versus apples, I think all avenues are open at this point of time.
Didar Singh, from your vantage point at FICCI, you study all the sectors, research reports come to you. Now, to say that 2013 had 7% growth nearly, how do you see it?
See, as Mr. Birla was just mentioning to you, there is no doubt about the fact that there has been pain in the economy. That is a well-known factor, but that's not a well-known factor restricted only to India.
It's an understatement, perhaps.
That's an understatement, but you've seen this factor in China, you're seeing it in Europe.
Everybody is down 4 percentage points.
Everywhere, all over the place.
From the peaks, yeah.
But in India, what we need to just link up with two distinct factors which come out because of this. One is the fact that obviously our data points are not great. Second point it brings to the fore is that the vast Indian economy is far beyond just corporate results. We have a very vast economy, very much of it are informal. Now, as more and more data points are able to pick up other signals and other aspects of movement in the economy, I believe it's better for us as an overall nation. But the fact that if you're going to plug for growth, and I entirely agree with what Sid just mentioned, that if you were looking earlier at 8.5, you better start looking at 10.5 now, because you're looking at a totally different scenario. In that context, what you're trying to say is that the growth that you're expecting will be led by an industrial growth, but matched by a large number of other data points that also come in. whether it's mining or it's services or it's agriculture or it's food processing or whatever. Yeah. So the totality of it has to come in, and in that context, I think probably what we again need to as we look to the future, and we're talking about the budget and in your this discussion with you right now, I think the signals that come somehow also bring together the sentiment which is expected to come into play, which can possibly take us
So now,
to the 9.5, 10.5
in
or
a sense, what
whatever.
you're saying that this further heightens expectation of a
Of course it does.
11% GDP growth.
Yes,
It's
it
interesting
does.
you mentioned mining because everybody saw the reality of mining in our country, which we have spoken about on this show last year, where coal mining, iron ore mining, whether in Goa, Karnataka, completely paralyzed. It had actually collapsed in some sense. Supreme Court stay on Goa mining. So in spite of all those stays and mining output declining, still our numbers show 7%, nearly 6.9 growth into 2013, which the UPA government itself is in a former UPA cabinet ministers are in a state of shock, perhaps. So,
Sorry, just to add, you know, as Dr. Didar Singh said, that you know our economy is much larger than corporate results. I think there is a point to that, because often in some of the studies we've seen that since much of our employment is in the unorganized sector, and therefore that is also producing results, the real growth in the economy has always been perceived to be higher than the reported results. But having said that, if that is the real case, then there is a case for upping our targets for the future. So
But, you
it,
know,
it is possible that it has happened.
Mr. Birla, here I want to add that if you look at some of the details, sketchy details that have come out as to why they have upgraded the GDP numbers for both 2013 UPS last year and this year, is because they are saying that they're capturing a lot of new businesses in the organized sector which are now reporting through a computerized system at the Corporate Affairs Ministry, filing returns showing their turnovers. So the point I'm making is, again, it's the organized sector. It's not as if they've got some new data. Yes, of course, they have this 2012 census on small businesses also. So I think
Their data
the
points have
combination of
increased.
two.
They are tracking it at many more places than they did before. So
Now,
that's part of.
coming back to the budget, do you think last year we spoke about the budget, pre-budget and post-budget? I remember having a conversation with you, and you said that maybe this government needs time because the previous budget was done in a month's time. So Jaitley didn't have much time. So now, do you think some of those issues which were top of the mind during the last budget are addressed today, or do you think this government is still grappling with the issues? Because clearly private investment has not picked up, and this government is not talking about a public sector driven investment growth. So what is your sense?
I think what was top of mind last year, if I remember correctly, at the time when the budget was put out, is that India was still under a sort of a threat of a failed monsoon or a very weak monsoon. And therefore that was probably top of mind at that point of time. We had oil prices which were very high, and we had current account deficits which were not manageable.
Those issues are not.
So perhaps they were top of mind at the time the last budget was made. Certainly it was very clear that a lot of re-engineering would have to be done. And I think to say that private investment has not yet come in should not be a surprise to anybody, because our own estimates showed, particularly given the gap that existed in the capacity versus capacity utilization in the country, that private investment was still some time away. And last May, when this new government took over, we said that if certain actions are taken in 6 months, we should see results on the ground starting from 18 months, which means I do not think we estimated private investment on the ground before December this year. Okay, so that was already there. Now the question is, in the intervening period, what do you do? It has to be driven through public projects. Now, whether those public projects are funded through foreign investment, public investment, or through the government investment, we can have a mixture of all the three. But it is public investment which will have to be driven. Perhaps public sector companies will have to be leveraged and pushed to speed up their investment plans.
In some sense, they're doing it. NTPC is picking up power projects which are not working, where the private sector is unable to bring in more funds. I saw NTPC actually
advertising
for that. Didar Singh, what is your sense? You think that government is doing enough to revive investments, all the retrospective tax issues, etc.?
I think the mood is changing. And if you want a reflection of it, I would say the one signal that came, but actually came just a few days ago, was the coal auctions. Here was a sector completely stalled, completely, in disarray and whatever. The Supreme Court had taken whatever decision it had. And suddenly you had back there, okay, a decision that, okay, we will bid these out. It was completely transparent. Auctions or whatever were done. Look at the response.
Good response.
You had an excellent response. So it shows that the sentiment things are moving. And I would just add to that to say that, FICCI itself, we do these quarterly surveys and we do perception surveys of industry.
Business confidence survey.
Business confidence has jumped. Business confidence has jumped in the last 6 months. So while you might be saying that, okay, on the ground I'm not seeing it, we feel that industry persons, industry members are very much there. They're looking at it differently, and here is a reflection. And you had the auction and you had it picked up extremely well. So as more and more projects come on the ground, and whether PPP gets revived, in fact, we are for the whole highway sector, we've been suggesting for annuity to be taken up as a good way to get private sector into it, backed by government. We will see much more sentiment and a better response from the private sector.
Although in the highway sector, the government has said that 70% of the projects will be done by the government, because the private sector seems to be wanting an exit from the project.
No, basically what happened in the highway sector was the PPP projects, the BOT projects were not working. So we had actually been suggesting now for almost about a year, please shift to annuity. Annuity has the private sector, and yet it has a guarantee of an annuity payment every year by government. So it brings both of them into it.
So it should be could be a combination of both.
It should be a combination. While EPC is a good thing to start it off, but more of annuity should come in.
Okay. Now, we were talking about some of the reforms that this government undertook, but for some reasons they did not manage the politics of reforms too well, in the sense that Mr. Modi did say initially that he would take other regional parties along and work with the chief ministers. But for some reason that did not pan out the way originally they had thought it would. So therefore you had a situation where in the Rajya Sabha, government doesn't have a majority, so you have several ordinances. And on some critical ordinances like the land ordinance, which takes away the consent clause when you acquire land from farmers, and the social impact assessment provision also. It seems the government is ruling party is up against huge opposition, including from their own Sangh Parivar. Bharatiya Kisan Sangh has openly said that they would oppose the land ordinance in its present form. How do you see, Mr. Birla, this play out? There seems to be overwhelming opposition to the land ordinance, even from within the BJP.
The way I look at it, yes, a lot of concern has been expressed, and including by the President of India, that whether everything should be put into the ordinance route, which is a signal I think the government has taken very seriously, and therefore is calling for all-party consultations. But I would not say that the political blockage is an across-the-board kind of thing, because on one hand, you have seen considerable progress being made by Mr. Jaitley on the GST. Okay, now short of passing it as a legislation, I think all the sort of I's are dotted and the T's are crossed.
GST is a success story.
So I think it is a success story, but it yet has to be passed. So short of passing, there has been cooperation across the states. Now, the parliament blockage was unfortunate and disappointing. But I don't think we can lay the blame on any one particular ground, because ultimately it's a huge country. There were political compulsions, there were elections to come, there were a few aberrations. So these aberrations will happen.
Which the Prime Minister has tried to clarify.
Yeah, I think they will have to be taken in the stride. But I think from a medium-term perspective, one would expect that this would be resolved, and there would be some solution coming out, and we would see some of the key legislations going forward in a cooperative atmosphere. So I don't have too much concern on that, except that time has been lost. Which is why I think it is very important that there is a lot of work in progress, whether on the bureaucratic level, in the ministerial level. For example, you saw SG spoke about the coal auctions. Now, it was a year ago we were sitting in the same room and saying, why don't three parties get together, or three constituencies get together and talk about coal? It was just about a year ago.
Yeah.
Now, the important thing is the coal auctions are already on their way. Maybe the solution is not what we had in mind then, But there is a solution. It is going forward. Now we have to see that people are bidding aggressively. So what are the other fallouts of this auction? Whether the power rates will go out of the roof, or our competitiveness will be hurt. What is going to happen in spectrum pricing? But I think these are two subjects we were talking about a year ago, and now we are near a closure.
So I think although on spectrum, a section of the industry is saying that the cost will be too high.
I think even in coal, one can argue that there has been aggressive bidding, which perhaps sitting 3 months ago.
So I hope, do you suspect there's a risk of our industry ending like they did 7-8 years ago?
I think
high auction prices and not being able to sustain the costs.
In another conversation we had a little time ago, I think SG put it very nicely that there is a cost to transparency, because I think one has to take a holistic picture, and one did not want the government to play a role where there was a price discovery. Because then we could again go back to the old situation, saying that the government has artificially jacked up the prices.
So what is your sense? Do you think, from FICCI's perspective, the industry is happy about the way coal auctions, spectrum auctions are being done?
Absolutely, absolutely, because the direction is correct. You see, at the end of the day, if we as an economy have to mature, and politics also have to mature, there is a sense that India must play at a global level. And that sense is something which is being reflected across the board. Why is it that everybody and their grand uncle are turning up in India to talk to Indian government on various aspects of whether it's defense on the one hand and renewables on the other? The renewable conference was so packed you couldn't manage to enter it. Yeah. So demand at India and people looking at India.
It's a commitment to renewable energy.
It's not just renewable energy, it's a commitment to the business opportunity. That so much business opportunity is available, and India is one of the few places in the world that this is being reflected in. You were just talking about land. Yes, politically we will always have opposition in our country. I mean, we've seen it now for enough years. But the interesting thing about the land bill, the demand for its modification actually came from state governments. At the end of the day, where does development take place? Not in parliament. It takes place on the ground in rural India and whatever small cities and what have you. And if you cannot manage in the states to put in projects because of the process that you put for yourself in this land acquisition, everything can come to a grinding halt. So that is where the demand came from, and hopefully it will get sorted out in some manner or the other. Otherwise, you are just not going to see the growth.
But that's not entirely clear, because many state governments are still saying that the consent clause, some consent from farmers could be put in place.
Yes.
Yeah. So there is a. But tell me, from a tax perspective, budget is all about tax and expenditure.
Yes.
What are the 2-3 big tax measures in terms of greater clarity or in terms of tax reduction, which Jaitley can think of?
Okay, on the larger tax issues, there is no doubt, and everybody knows that some signal on GST will be given. So that, as you're saying yourself, it's a success story. So hopefully an actual rollout plan, timed out, everything is in place, as well as sufficient funding to the tax administration, which requires GST to be put in the whole IT system or the backbone behind GST. That must come in play.
So kind of roadmap
for making sure that it actually happens. And in that, of course, we hope, whether it will come in this budget or it will come later, the signal that the taxation rates there will be moderate. That has
some
to be
26% which was initially thought of.
Somebody was talking about. Okay.
As good as not having a GST.
The second larger point that I believe, again, it's a very important signal that we expect the finance minister to be making, is this whole business of actually having certainty and simplicity in tax administration. Now, certainty point has been made by the FM several times.
That requires a mindset change.
It requires a mindset change, but the simplicity is what I would stress at this point. The simplicity of not summoning people randomly, not calling industry up all the time, settling your issues very openly, very quickly. That is the kind of tax administration that we need to look at.
In a way, you're saying reducing as far as possible interface between tax officials and the businesses, right?
And reducing
unhappy interaction.
Reducing the target and performance linkages. You cannot set targets and determine the performance of an officer on that basis.
So
that is
do you
a big
think
problem.
we are close to achieving this? Do you think our tax department, given the animal that it is, you've watched it for so many years, do you think it will change?
I think it is changing. It can change. It can certainly change. And I think with the more automation, with more transparency, things will only improve. For example, we are already, so many of us are already e-filing, all corporates are e-filing. Things will happen. Now, I think that education will take it forward, maybe not at the speed we would like, but certainly there will be noticeable changes over the next, say, 24 months. As far as the taxation is concerned, I think Mr. Jaitley's got his work cut out for him. Unless we see all the results of the Expenditure Management Commission, where the revenues are going to come from, how they're going to be spent, his hands are going to be tight. So I don't see tax giveaways, excepting tweaking. Maybe there's a minor tweak here or a minor tweak there. I think he will focus more on the systemic procedures, keeping it clear, having clarity. He may have to give up something in attending to duty anomalies, like in inverted duty structures.
Yeah, sure.
So he'll have to have a few giveaways over there. At the same time, I think what we've been encouraging for a long time is don't come back to the same taxpayer base to look for more taxes. There is plenty of money out there which deserves to be taxed. I'm not saying we should tax just everybody.
In some ways, GST will also capture at a subsequent stage.
GST will capture it, but
course it
GST
will.
is still 2016 March is the earliest introduction date. So that means the whole of this year is gone. So I think, I mean, if one reads the media, you get really good ideas, like good ideas or otherwise, I don't know. For example, if tobacco is to be taxed, and this is what we are seeing, there has been a lot of articles that only 12% of the tobacco in the country is cigarettes, and 88% goes untaxed. So let us decide once and for all if tobacco is to be taxed or not to be taxed. For example, I mean, there have been really creative ideas, is that let's legalize cricket betting and tax cricket betting. So maybe he needs a few thousand crores of revenues, direct tax revenues, to come in from unconventional sources, which can be sustainable over a period of time. People will smoke, people will bet. I mean, just to give you two examples.
Another issue which I'll put to both of you, there is this narrative that we must be very, very strict, even fundamentalist, about reducing our fiscal deficit or following the roadmap, taking it down to 3.6% as per the fiscal deficit roadmap, right, for the coming year. Now, given that everybody agrees that the initial push to the economy, at least in the next 1 year, has to come from largely from public sector funding until private sector investment picks up, you could pause a little on the fiscal deficit reduction roadmap. So do you agree that 4.1%, if it is 4.2 or 4.3, it really doesn't make any difference? So and the government has to meet many of its social welfare programs commitment also, which is a huge commitment by Modi personally to the people at large. He's on record that Sarkari Khazana Garibon ke liye hai pehle. Now, how do you see this play out? You think you should be fundamentalist about fiscal deficit?
I think it is necessary to be to be very strict about discipline. This is number one. It is true that we can afford a little slippage here or there or some extra spending. But I think what is more important, you see, India is a very large country, and one does not know any exigency which will have to be taken care of during the year, which might distort these numbers. Okay. Today we are in a happy situation with the oil prices coming down and the subsidies more or less in check. So I think it is very good to stick to a discipline. I think what are the bigger thing is that within that number, can we improve the quality of our spending? Can we have more capital-driven spending within that budget, which again, I refer to the Expenditure Management Commission. Let us see that report. Let us see that result. Can we have more capital spending within that? So I think...
So if this process, what you just said, takes about 2 years, can we live with a fiscal deficit of, say, 4.1 to 4.3% for 2 years? That's the question I'm asking.
We can live with it, but the issue is, should we budget for it?
Okay, what do you have to say?
I would say no, for a specific different reason, not directly connected to the budget. We know that the single biggest issue emerging for industrial growth is actually cost of finance. Cost of finance. You'd rather focus on interest rate? I'd rather focus on interest rate. That unless we are able to address that issue, we are not going to see investment. And that interest rate is directly linked to what happens here. If the government doesn't show
essentially you're saying that it's only if fiscal deficit is reduced further, will Raghuram Rajan cut interest rates?
Exactly. Only that's you get your your belt gives you only that much flexibility.
That makes sense. Thank you very much for talking to us, Mr. Siddharth Birla and Mr. Didar Singh. That's all we have in this edition of State of the Economy.